generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet.
Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. Today we are doing our monthly Shoot the Sheev podcast where we talk about a lot of things that happened in Star Wars news for the month. We got a packed podcast here for you today, so I hope you're ready for a lot of cool things to talk about. Um, First and foremost, we're going to just kind of go down the line like we usually do with movies, board games, video games, and then other, of course. The big thing that happened this month is that Skeleton Crew has now ended. So now we do not have a Star Wars show currently on Disney Plus. What was your thoughts about Skeleton Crew?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun ride. It didn't take on too much of uh, a ridiculously complicated story. It was just fun, I think. The ending, I wish it would have gone on a little bit further. I felt like it left us wanting like an epilogue or an extra episode, but overall, it was a pretty good watch. What did you think?
I think it kind of ended abruptly as well. I think it was one of the stronger shows as of late, which is kind of interesting to think about because, when you think about the other shows that have come out, like Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we are promised that Obi-Wan's going to face off with Vader. There's a lot of even the Acolyte with what was promised being, a Sith background and focus on the show. All these things that we were promised. Skeleton Crew being a Star Wars Goonies was not on the top of my list after hearing those kinds of projects announced. And so I'm kind of surprised to now be thinking that this was probably one of the better ones of all those together. I mean, I still stand by that. I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. I don't remember now when it came out, but when Kenobi came out, I still stand by that. That was my favorite show of that year because even though it has its issues, it was still a pretty good show. But I feel like this show, we don't have to put that little disclaimer in there of it has its issues, but it's a pretty good show. No, this one's basically a pretty good show all around. There's very few, like if I was asked to nitpick a little bit about it, of course I could find a thing or two, but overall, when you think about the show, I feel like it's probably one of the better successes that Lucasfilm and Disney Plus has had.
It's funny you pick out Kenobi as a show to compare it to because I think one of the big issues with that show was a lack of understanding characters' motives or characters' motives being kind of wishy-washy. And that's the exact same problem that we had with
The Acolyte.
Acolyte. Thank you. I wanted to say Andor and I knew that wasn't the right name. But yeah, that's kind of the same thing as what we had with the Acolyte. So it was nice to have a show where everybody's motives just made sense and it's not that they didn't change their mind, but when they did, it made sense.
Right. And I can, like, if you're sitting at home wondering what motive is she talking about for Kenobi, one of them I can say right off the bat is like Darth Vader. There was a big moment in Kenobi that was entirely not believable about Vader, which was the letting Riva live, right? I hands down would have thought that Vader would have just slaughtered her after their battle, but the show really wants to let people be redeemed and whatnot, so they didn't have her die. So things like that just didn't make sense.
See, and
But
my issue is also with Riva herself changing her mind on what she was doing. It seemed like she just snapped her fingers and now I'm a good person. And it didn't seem like a natural transition.
Yeah, I mean, we can go on and on about Kenobi, but I would say hers was, I wouldn't say wishy-washy. I would just say not believable because I feel like she only became a good person because Vader was on her butt now, basically.
Yeah.
I don't believe that she had a change of heart. I don't believe that she now wants to be buddy-buddy with Kenobi. I just believe that the show didn't want her as the female character, like female lead of the show. I know Leia is probably considered the female lead, but I think Reva is up there too. They didn't want her to go down as an evil character that, was defeated. I think they wanted to show that people can come from the ashes and rise above to become the Phoenix and stuff like that. But yeah, the Skeleton Crew show, you get what you get basically, and there really isn't much, oh, challenging these people's motives. It's very interesting the whole way through. It's understandable. The kids are, you know, a good watch. None of them are particularly annoying or anything like that. They have some weird choices, but they're kids, right? So yeah, we ended Skeleton Crew. I believe our next big show is going to be Andor season 2, which is April 22nd. Now, we weren't the hugest fans of Andor season 1, but I am excited to see what they do with season 2. I think the the dark side of Andor, not like Star Wars dark side, but like the dark themes that are within Andor, I think those are probably going to be the most interesting for me when that show comes out. I'm hoping that the pace is picked up a little bit than what season 1 was doing, but that might be wishful thinking because I know that's supposed to be like 3 episode arcs that cover different time periods. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Are you excited for Andor? Or is that just kind of we'll watch it?
I am really hopeful for some good, fun K2SO action. I understand it can't be all fun all the time, and we just got done with a fun show, and I know Andor has a very different feeling to it than fun, but we all know K2SO and his sassiness, and I'm ready for it. I hope we get it early, and I hope we get it the whole season.
Yeah, my hope is that we see him get K2SO within the first or second episode, somewhere right in there, or at least the first arc, and then we can see him the rest of the way. But speaking of the Acolyte that we mentioned a little bit ago, supposedly, Disney Plus has come out with the numbers for their shows of 2024. And again, supposedly, The Acolyte was ranked the number 2 watched show on Disney Plus last year. I'm telling you right now, I would have not guessed who was number 1. Who do you think number 1 is?
Of all of Disney Plus,
Yeah, like Disney Plus shows and whatnot.
does
Any
Bluey
guesses?
count?
It does count.
That would be my guess.
That would be incorrect. The number 1 show was Percy Jackson, the TV show.
What?
And the thing that people are griping about is that, The Acolyte supposedly was the number 2 watch show if you count the minutes that were watched. And Percy Jackson got a season 2 of its show. It got renewed. So people are wondering, well, if The Acolyte is the number 2 show, why isn't that getting renewed? And I hate to tell you, everybody, but sometimes when a project is so bad, it drives in people to come watch it. So I feel like the numbers for the minutes of The Acolyte is a little bit skewed simply because people aren't there necessarily because they're fans and they want more. They want to see what the train wreck was that everybody claims it to be. Now, of course, there's tons of people that love the show. There's a lot of people that don't like the show. Unfortunately, we did not end up liking the show as much as we wanted to. I really wanted to like that show, but it's just the writing was so poor and all over the place. But I mean, I feel like if you think about just the numbers, I feel like the fans of The Acolyte have a gripe. Of course, it's the number 2 show. Why not invest more? I don't know how much Percy Jackson cost to make, but maybe the cost had something to do with it. Because I think The Acolyte had like 280 million or something, maybe 230, something like that for their budget. It was well into the 200s. And that is a very expensive show for the amount of episodes that we got.
I'm just doing a quick comparison on IMDb between those two shows you just mentioned. First of all, I think it's interesting to know Percy Jackson actually launched or started in December of 23, and it went week to week. So about halfway through the season is when it actually hit 2024. Like I think it was episode 4 or 5 that actually started in 2024, and then everything else after that, obviously. But if you look at the ratings just on IMDb, so Percy Jackson, 41,000 ratings, 7 out of 10. The Acolyte, 129,000, so about 4 times as many reviewers, 4.2 out of 10.
And of course, all the Acolyte fans will just claim that those are bots, which they're not. They think it's review bombing.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. So, um, I get it. I understand where people are coming from, but I do also think that if Disney makes a season two, they really need to comb over that script and make sure that things are cohesive and make sense. Because I'm not going to lie to you, this is what happened with season one. They made crap, and then at the very last second, they decided to show Plagueis and Yoda. Why? Because they wanted people to have a reason to want season two, even though they were just, served a crap sandwich with season one. So, we can't do that. We have to have a very, very nice gourmet meal the entire way and, not lift under the bread and go, is that my burger or is that crap? So,
I couldn't have said it better myself.
thank you. Um, the last thing I have here, which is probably pretty big news, especially if you know the reference. Unfortunately, I don't because I've never watched these movies. But again, the new Ray movie has a new writer. I don't know if this is the third or fourth person that they've gone through, but the guy that they hired, his name is George Nolfi, I think you pronounce his name, Nolfi. And what made a lot of people excited is because this is the guy that made the Bourne Ultimatum. I've never seen the movie, at least not that I remember. I've never watched the Bourne series. I've heard it's got a good following, but people were excited about that. So that could be some very good news for the Rey film in the near future. I love the Rey character. I don't necessarily like how the character was handled by Rian Johnson, but like Daisy Ridley's portrayal of Rey and J.J. Abrams' intent with Rey, I loved it. Like whenever I play like Battlefront or something and Rey's an option, I love playing as Rey. It's great. She's a great character. So I really, really hope that when this movie comes out, it's good. Have you seen any of the Bourne movies?
I have not seen any of them. I've heard good things by, like those who have seen it, but I personally have not seen any of them. Um, my big hope with this is just that it's somebody who is going to take the time to know the characters and to know the franchise and to kind of pay respect to that because too many times we've seen people ruin Star Wars shows or movies or what have you because they just want to make it their own instead of paying tribute to what's already there. And I feel like that's what typically makes a Star Wars show crumble is when you don't pay respect to what's there already.
Which again just goes back to the mismanagement by Kathleen Kennedy, where she's hiring people that do not understand Star Wars. She's even hired people that have never seen Star Wars and then hoping that they make a good product. And that doesn't work. That does not work. Especially not to, really beat a dead horse or um, pick that scab again, but the actors and actresses of The Acolyte did not know Star Wars. I don't know how many times I heard come out of their mouth that Anakin destroyed the Death Star. That makes absolute no sense. So I hope they hire people that know what they're talking about, they know what they're doing. I think what's going to help this movie a lot is that it's set 15 years after the rise of Skywalker. So it's going to be, Rey has been training, Rey has been gaining knowledge as a Jedi, and most likely she's going to be training the next generation and also dealing with whatever the next new threat is going to be during that time period. So they're not going to be breaking in my opinion, breaking the rules like Ryan Johnson did, where Rey was a instant good Jedi over a week span, which is not how Star Wars works. Here we get some time. She'll definitely be a way more believable character. All right, so let's transition to board games. We love board games. In this first one, Sarah and I, we both played the Mandalorian Adventures game. Before we jump into the news about the game, um, will you tell the audience a little bit about that game and some of your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's a kind of like a board book, if you will, where once you go to the first page, that's like your first map to play on. You have certain objectives that line up with the story of The Mandalorian. I think the original, like the current board game that's out, just follows season one of the show. So you have to go and capture Grogu, or you have to go and save him from whatever this threat is, or you have to fight against Moff Gideon, those types of things. So it's a team game, it's cooperative, you're trying to defeat the bad guys, if you will. And every time you flip a page, it's like a new level of the board game because you have different challenges, you have different things that you're trying to, as your objective, but you're always working together. I think these types of games are really fun. I think it's Ravensburger who did it first with a handful of different ones. What is it, Princess Bride? Um,
Wizard of Oz and Lord of the Rings.
Yes, thank you. I was blanking on what the other games were. But then this one is by a different company. They did a great job with it. One of my favorite things that they did that the Ravensburger group did not do is that these books are spiral bound, so they lay flat, which is great for when you're trying to lay out game pieces on them. Um, I can't tell you how many times the Ravensburger books they just because it's a board book, so they don't really lay flat when you're trying to lay them flat, which for the sake of a board game makes it kind of difficult to use. Um,
What I will say that so yeah, I would say this company that made the Mando game, they definitely won that category. But there's also some that Ravensburger wins, right? They win the figures because they have actual molds for their characters. Those are really cool. And also number two, the price point, because the Ravensburger ones are like $15 cheaper.
yeah, but overall, I thought it was pretty fun. I don't feel like it was overly complicated or too hard to beat. If anything, it might have been just a little too easy for us, but maybe that's just because we've played that style game before.
As we got towards the end, there was one or two levels that we had to restart. I
Okay.
remember that. Yeah, I remember. I feel like I feel like the Ravensburger ones are a little bit more challenging. I know there was a chapter in The Wizard of Oz that really had us, having to think about our movements and whatnot on the board. Pretty sure that was actually a couple of them that had to do with the Wicked Witch.
See, and I was thinking that with some of the Lord of the Rings ones now that you brought that back to my memory.
Yeah, that one definitely had its challenges as well too. So the new part of this is that there's going to be an expansion, and maybe the expansion will be a little bit more challenging. Who knows? The expansion is called the Clan of Two, and this is supposed to model after the season two of the show. It adds four new playable characters, which didn't, I think the first one had like eight characters, didn't it? Had a whole bunch.
I don't remember, to be honest.
It was either six or eight, one of the two. But anyway, so we add four new characters, being Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Fennec, and Bo-Katan. Each character is going to get their own deck, which means there's going to be new cards because when you pick a character to play, you get your own unique player deck.
Can
They
you
all have really cool abilities and whatnot too.
can you just go back? Who's Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, Fennec, and what was the fourth one?
Boba Fett.
Okay. I was gonna say, is it an all-girl expansion? But no, sorry.
No, not quite. So there's going to be the new cards and then new events as well, because again, it's going to follow that season two. So um, I didn't see, because when they called an expansion, is it going to be the same size as the first one? I don't know. Is it only going to be a couple of maps? I mean, they definitely don't have as many characters that they're adding in relation to the first one, because the first one definitely had way more than four people in it. So my next question would be, does that mean the cost is going to be a little bit less? Because I think the entry point of the original was like $50, wasn't it?
Something around that, yes. And now that I'm thinking about it again, although we beat the game, there were further levels that you could do with like a secret envelope with extra add-ons and those types of things that we didn't get to yet. And it makes me wonder if, because those levels say like, okay, play this challenge on any board that you want. So you can flip through the pages and choose whatever map you want to play whatever that challenge is. It makes me wonder if there's going to be no new maps and it's just new challenges and characters.
I don't know about that. I believe there's going to be a new spiral bound book. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of it real quick.
Okay.
So yeah, I had those folders. I remember when we were playing, even when we were playing like the story mode, quote unquote, they they had the choice. Do you want to make it so that somebody might double cross you? If you do, then open up this folder and add that to the game. Um, but ultimately, what those expansions are for, within the first one, like the envelopes, there are two. I think they're supposed to add like mercenary missions and whatnot. So yes, you get to use the same boards, but um, you'll get to play different scenarios than just what you played in uh, the story mode. So I found
Mhm.
the pictures. There is going to be a new Spiral book. There's going to be the four characters, as I said. It says it's going to be coming out summer of 2025. I'm trying to see.
Which all these expansions and different ways to play the game and different missions and whatnot is completely different than what Ravensburger did, because Ravensburger has the one storyline, and once you play through it, that's it. There's not a whole lot of replayability because you've already done it once. They don't have characters for you to pick from either, I don't think. Maybe they did. But I thought it was just for the Ravensburger, it was you control these four characters or three characters or whatever it was for each level, and then that was it.
Right. So I'm reading a little bit more out here for the description of the game. This is provided by um, BoardGameGeek.com. And it says, I'll just read it. It says in the Mandalorian Adventures Clan of Two expansion, you work together to complete thrilling missions inspired by season two of The Mandalorian. Play as four new characters. Uh, put your skills to the test with four story missions on four new locations in a new mission book, doubling the number of maps in the game and four diverse mercenary missions. It says it also introduces new enemy types, ongoing events, a dual deck, and more that can be integrated with the base game for more variety. So it sounds like my guess is that this can be its own game. I don't know. I'm like zooming in on different pictures to kind of see what's going on with all the stuff, but
It sounds like it's a handful of different levels, if you will, because of the new characters and new missions, but then also you can use it to enhance the base game.
yeah. So I look forward to that. I really enjoyed that the Mandalorian Adventures game, and I love Star Wars games and I love the co-op games. It's something that we got into in the last couple of years, and I'm really into it. I dig it for sure. Uh, Another big one that we really like, and this is a very small announcement, and maybe we can make some predictions here, but or I should say, Ravensburger came out and talked about Villainous. So The main event was talking about a new way to play Disney Villainous, where it's more accessible to people with some changed rules a little bit and a more, and I would say, inviting setup for the game. But while they were also showing off that game, they were also talking about some expansions that may be coming out. And I know this is the Star Wars podcast, but I think this is kind of cool. They mentioned that the Disney expansion will feature its first live action villain, so maybe we'll get like Davy Jones or something from Pirates of the Caribbean. That would be really cool. But as far as Star Wars, all that they said is that there will be a Star Wars expansion on the way and that it'll come sometime this summer. Now, the last time I heard that was that that they released it in August. So last year when they said it's coming this summer, they really meant literally the tail end of summer. So that's kind of when I would predict for this to come out is in August. Their new format is to come out with two villains apiece. So aside from the villains that we already have, Sarah, what is at least one villain that you would like to see pop up in Villainous?
Ooh. It's been a while since we've played, so I'm kind of having a hard time remembering all the different ones that there are. I kind of think Greedo would be fun. I know he's not like a super villain or even really a villain, but he kind of is because he's scum, right? But he's just a character I think is interesting and neat to look at. I don't.
I could be wrong. I think he's featured in the Boba Fett deck,
Oh, okay.
but again, I could be wrong.
Do we have a Jabba one? I don't think we do.
I don't think we have a Jabba specific one. I I want to
Don't you
say
dare tell me he's in someone else's deck too.
now I was gonna say I think he's technically in the Boba Fett one as well because Boba Fett's deck is basically you can either hire other bounty hunters to work with you, or you have to get these jobs and then carry out the assignments, basically. And so I think he gets his jobs from Jabba, but we have it's been a long time since we played that specific one, so I can't remember exactly, but I want to say that Jabba is a part of that. But it would be a cool one to see for Jabba the Hutt if we get to, see other huts and stuff. That'd be really cool. I think it's kind of a popular one right now. So one that I would want that I think could very well fit in here would be Grand Admiral Thrawn. Um, he's had a lot of different things that he's done throughout the Disney Star Wars, and especially with Ahsoka season one that just wrapped up. I think it'd be an easy way to throw him into the mix and get some things going there.
I have one other idea, but maybe it's one that's there out there already, so you tell me. Cad Bane.
He is already in there.
Okay, darn it.
I think he was part of the Bulba expansion as well.
He probably
I
was.
think it was Bulba, Cad Bane, and then some Inquisitor girl. And then we got the Darth Maul expansion with Darth Maul and Captain Phasma. And then, of course, we have the base set as well. So, yeah, I would like to see Thrawn.
Thrawn would be a cool one.
Trying to think who else. Because, again, they come in twos. They don't necessarily correlate to one another because, like, Darth Maul and Captain Phasma, that doesn't mesh at all. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And of course, as soon as we find out who those two are, there will definitely be a video on um, YouTube with us, whether it's an individual or if it makes the Shoot the Sheev at the end of the month. We'll be looking forward to it for sure. Okay, moving on to video games. So something that I saw drop today. So this is brand spanking new news. Is that the video game Destiny? I have not played it before, but I know it's popular. Destiny is going to have Star Wars skins coming to the game. So I've heard the game is a lot of fun, but for me, I was like, I really don't want to jump into a new IP because I really don't want to learn all the new lore and stuff. I, you know, I say that I don't have much time for video games, like new ones, but at the same time I do because I just play the old ones way too much. like MLB The Show. But I've always thought like, well, if there was like Star Wars Destiny, then maybe I would try it out. And this is kind of them listening to what I said, because now I guess I could play Destiny and just have a Star Wars skin. Um, the skins that are included in the pack, I'm not sure if you have. Well, my guess is you have to pay for it, probably at least $5 or something. But the skins include a Stormtrooper, a Death Trooper, and a Royal Guard. And these skins are available starting on February 4, so not too far away. I think that isn't that next week?
Yeah.
So, have you ever played Destiny? Have you ever heard of it?
Truth be told, when you brought that up, I thought you were talking about the card game that we used to play.
Oh, nope.
What was that called?
Destiny.
Okay, so that was
Oh,
also called Destiny.
yeah, Star Wars Destiny was a card game with dice.
Okay, so I'm not just making stuff up, but
Nope.
no, that's honestly that's what I thought you were talking about, but like a digital version somehow. I am not aware of a Star Wars Destiny game.
Well, Destiny itself is not a Star Wars game. It's its own IP. It's a looter shooter, basically, where you and your friends go and fight bosses and get good loot, rinse, repeat, going to other places, as far as I've heard. And remember, I've never played the game, so if I sound like I don't know anything, it's because I don't. But if I had the option to be a stormtrooper or a death trooper or a royal guard, might try it, kind of a thing. Um, Maybe I'll look into seeing how much they cost. If it's something super cheap, because I could have sworn that I got Destiny from like PlayStation Plus, or maybe it's on the subscription service, so I can just play it for free. Um, but my guess is those skins will cost some money.
Oh, they
Couple,
got to. Any
couple of
free
bucks.
game has expensive skins. They got to.
Well, when the game first came out, it wasn't free. It was a paid game, but um, getting it from PlayStation Plus, whether it was the monthly games or if it was, just accessible to go ahead and play, that's kind of quote unquote free. I mean, I pay for the subscription, but so if you're into Destiny, that's a reason to go back if you haven't played in a while, or if you're like me, who is like, maybe now I'll try Destiny because I can look like a Star Wars character. Maybe. I'll have to look up some reviews and gameplay and stuff to see if the core part of the game is something that I would really be interested in, or maybe ask a buddy or two that if they've played it. But
According to this AI overview, from trying to figure out how much these skins might cost, it says and again, this is just the AI overview, but it's my quick answer. The price for the Star Wars themed skins have not been announced yet, but previous crossover bundles have been around $20 per armor set.
her, oh my God, it better come with more than just a skin. Like, is there some like skins for your weapons or something? There's got to be something more. Like, if I'm gonna be a Royal Guard, do I get the Royal Guard staff kind of a thing? But dang, that might be a hard sell. I don't know.
I'm trying to fact check that to see if that's like actual or not, but it might take me a moment.
Gotcha. There is one other piece of video game news that I wanted to talk about for our Shoot the Sheev, and that's that Jedi Power Battles has been released now. I think it came out a couple days ago. It was January 20 something. I know that. And I missed out on the 10% off. Dang. But this game came out. It's really cheap if you haven't played it before. It's 20 bucks. And basically, Aspire, just like they've been doing with all their other games, took an old game, made it playable on current consoles, gave it, some polish so it looks a little bit nicer. And then they also threw in some extra playable characters and cheat codes. So there's a lot of cool things going on here. I don't think you could buy this game. Like if you went to the store, like a retro game store, and you tried to buy this game, probably going to be about 10 bucks. If you want all these extras that's really fun to play with, just buy it here, especially since it looks a lot nicer. I had never played it before on the PlayStation, so it was really cool for me to jump in. I've only played about half of it so far, maybe even a third of it. I don't think I'm quite a half. But from what I've played, it's fun. It's not too over challenging, but it is fun to kind of play through Star Wars Episode 1, from the way that things were made back in the PS1 era. They're not as clean as they are now today, but it's fun to acknowledge, what games were like back then. When I was playing, Jar Jar was on screen and he just screams and screams and screams, and it just sounded like a bird, crowing or whatever squawking, is that the word?
Yes,
Over
there
and
you go.
over again. And it was weird, but at the same time, again, just kind of appreciating what it was.
Uh, just to circle back for a brief second, I did confirm most other crossover skins have been about 2,000 silver pieces, which is the equivalent of $20. When you buy $20, you get 2,300 silver pieces, and the skins typically cost 2,000. So you're left with 300 little silver pieces left after that 20 bucks
You know why they do that?
to give you just enough, but not enough.
Right. No, because that's enough to buy a $20 skin, but they give you that so that when you look at your currency, you say, okay, I got 300. I don't want it to go to waste. There's this other thing I want to get, but now I got to buy more. So they always put the purchasable currency in increments that will never, unless you do it a lot of times, it will never actually be a solid number for you to get back down to zero. There'll always be more
Fully
in your
consumable.
account so that you keep buying more. It is literally like an addictive tactic that they use to have you buy more. So
It makes sense.
it won't make me addicted, I can tell you that. I mean, if there's an extra 300 in there, it'll just die with the rest of the game if I don't play it. All right. Couple more things here this month. I would say this kind of falls in the other category just because it doesn't fit in the first three. But I know that one of the things, Sarah, there was something that you liked to play with when you were growing up. It was probably about the size of an egg. It was an electronic, and you took care of a pet every now and then. Do you remember what those are?
You must be talking about Tamagotchis, and I can't tell you how many times I got in trouble in school for playing with mine during class.
Yes, I am talking about Tamagotchis. There is a new Tamagotchi coming out. How would you like to raise your own very little Darth Vader in your pocket on a
Oh, it'd be
Tamagotchi?
so cute.
So Darth Vader is coming out. I can't believe the price. The price was a little outrageous in my opinion. It was 30 bucks
Oh,
for that
wow.
thing. It's got like a special case slash sleeve that you put over it. It's not really for me per se, but I know I bought us some of the Tamagotchis. I think it was R2D2 and somebody else, I think. And we never really dove into it. It's somewhere around here.
Yeah, I remember R2. I don't remember who the other one was. If I had to guess at how much the Darth Vader one would have cost, I would have guessed 20 or 25. I guess 30 makes sense if it comes with an extra protective sleeve. Although, let's be honest, those things are usually pretty robust, at least back when I used to play with them. I kept them on a lanyard and had like four or five of them all clanking around together, and they never got scratched or damaged that I ever noticed. Granted,
I
I was a
think
kid, so, I didn't pay too much attention to that, but
I think it's more cosmetic than anything because you got your normal Tamagotchi, it's like the little egg looking thing, right? This thing that comes with it is basically like Darth Vader's helmet slash cloak that you can put over it so it
mm,
looks like a little Darth Vader.
that would be
Whether
kind of cool.
that's justified to be an extra $5 to $10 is someone else's opinion. I don't know.
If people are paying $20 for a digital skin, I think that this isn't that bad in comparison.
That's fair. This comes out March 11th, so not too far away. So a little over a month, and then you can have Darth Vader in your pocket, force choking people while unsupervised. Um, okay, last thing today. There is a new. So when the Star Wars movies would come out, we would Sarah and I, we would go to like these toy events at midnight and we would go and buy something just as, no, we were there. We had some sort of Star Wars collectible from that night. Um, there's a toy event going on that's going to be year long for the campaign. It's called Power of the Force, not to be confused with Power of the Force. Power of the Force used to be one of the action figure lines that they had back in the late 90s, early 2000s time frame. This is called Power of the Force, and it's going to be
Can you
talking
can
of
you help me out here? I'm not hearing a difference.
there's four words in the one from before. Power of the Force. This one is three words. Power the Force.
Okay.
That's the main difference.
All right. Thank you.
I think they did that on purpose so that it almost kind of triggers in people's minds that like myself collected that stuff back then. They're like, "Oh my God, power of the force?" Well, no, it's power of the force. Well, is it even me? I looked up. Is there a connection? Is this some sort of like re-release campaign of the stuff from before? But it's not. It's just a year-long campaign of releasing new products. The first one that they announced recently was that there's going to be a new Lego Star Wars helmet. They've had Darth Vader, Stormtroopers, Clone Troopers, all that stuff in the past. This new one that's coming out is going to be the AT-AT driver helmet. But there's going to be plenty more reveals coming out via StarWars.com, Star Wars Celebration Japan, which is this year. I don't remember when that is. It's either April or June. And also on Star Wars Kids YouTube channel. And it says plenty more as well, but those are probably your main outlets. I know there's a rumored Ewok Lego set coming out. It makes me wonder when that will be announced from Power of the Force.
Star Wars Celebration is April 18 to 20.
All right, April 18 to 20. So that's actually sooner than I anticipated. Hopefully, we'll get some cool trailers for things coming out. But that actually lines up. I heard rumor, and this didn't quite make the cut for our news segment, but I heard rumor that there's supposed to be EA's Respawn's game, their latest video game, is supposed to be revealed in April. So I'm half wondering if that's when it'll be, is that Star Wars Celebration. If you don't know what Respawn has done in the past, they've done the Jedi games like Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor. But there's also been some rumor that they're doing a different game aside from just the Jedi series. Although I would really like to have that third game sooner rather than later because the second one was absolute fire. So looking forward to all that. Um, was there any Star Wars news that you wanted to bring up?
No, I don't think I had any that we didn't cover already.
All right, sounds good. Well, that is our Shoot the Sheev news of the month. If you enjoy this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Drop us a like if you like the video and drop us a comment letting us know your thoughts on the news stories that we covered. And also, if there's one that you felt was important that we didn't mention, go ahead and drop it in the comments. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.